Hey everyone, today I'm going to go over everything I do to get a flawless blend and most of the time very little dust in a paint job. I've been doing this for 30 plus years and I'm pretty much self-taught. I never went to college for this, and I've learned the hard way and made many mistakes, and I've learned from them, and I'm here to share some tips. This is a 2022 Ford F-150, and the paint code is JS, which is a heavy metallic, heavy large metallic, so that means harder to blend and also harder to cover. So I'm going to go through everything here. Right now I am wiping this down with a water-based cleaner. This will get rid of all of the bird crap, fingerprints, anything that water can take out that's water soluble. And I like to do this first, and then after this we're going to go through with a solvent-based cleaner, and that'll take care of all the wax, tar, anything that the solvent will take off. I'm using two microfiber towels. I love to use microfiber towels because they always say lint free when you get towels to wipe these down, but they always have lint. So I went to Walmart and I bought like 3 packs of 20 of the microfiber towels. I get yellow and blue, and I use the yellow for the first wipe to wipe off all of the degreaser while it's wet, and that goes for the waterborne and the solvent. Use the yellow one to get out all the degreaser while it's wet, and then I go back over it with the blue one to final wipe it, because you don't want to leave anything wet on there. Anything wet means that there's still going to be contaminants on there. You have to wipe it off. When it's wet, all the contaminants rise to the top, and then you wipe it off. If you don't wipe it off, it's just going to dry on there. So you have to get it all completely dry. On this A pillar here, we're going to do a clear blend too, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Just finish wiping this down, and then we're putting a new door on this. This door was smashed up, so we're just replacing the door. I have it finish sanded with 800 on the DA, and then scuffed with a red scuff pad, but that's fine for sealing. The inside isn't scuffed at all. Our PPG paint, the sealer will bond to unscuffed OEM finishes, and that's okay for jams, but the outside, you want to sand the outside and get any imperfections out, because they always have something wrong with them. But we're going to apply a sealer to the new door, which is what you do. I mean, it's recommended and you can't really not do it. If you just put base coat on the door, it's going to rock chip up and it's going to rust easy, and sealer is the way to go. I mean, if you don't know that, you should now. So we're going to put a coat of sealer on. I'm using an Iwata LPH 400 with a 1.3 tip, and I'm going to use that for this whole job. So right now I have it set at 20 pounds of pressure, and I have my sealer mixed up with a medium, half slow reducer. I don't go totally slow on a door that's straight up and down. If it was laying flat, I'd probably put slow on it, but since it's upright, you don't want to get any hangers in it. So just half medium, half slow, and we'll get a good coat of sealer on there. And just as a side note here, what I recommend doing, which I didn't do here, is I would tape off the rear door with some paper and the fender, because when you're spraying this sealer, it's going to land on the door. But I've done this for many years, and I know that I can take solvent cleaner and I can wipe that door and fender down with solvent cleaner after this, and it'll take care of all that. But I mean, just to be safe, I would throw some paper on it. But like I said, I've been doing this quite a while, and I've learned what works for me. And I think it'll work for you too. We're just putting a good medium wet coat of sealer on that. And like I said, sealer is going to help for rock chips. It's going to help the base coat bond. It's going to give strength to the whole paint system. If there's a weak link in any paint system, it's going to be the base coat. If you get a rock chip, usually it ends after the base coat. It hits the base coat, and then you'll see the chip, the sealer will still be on there. But when it's wet on wet like this, the base coat is going to bond to the sealer. And that's what we want. We want good adhesion and good corrosion protection. And this is just a great base for laying our base coat on. Like I said, this is 20 pounds of pressure. And we're just going to put a nice coat on here, get our base layer for our base coat to set on. It's a little tight squeeze in there. I wish these booths were a little bit wider and a little bit longer, but this is just a 20-some-year-old booth, but it does the job, and I would paint any vehicle in here and put it up against anybody's. Right now I'm spraying this, I'd say about, I like to spray kind of fast, so I'm probably 5 inches away, and I'm moving pretty quick, and I'm doing about probably a 75% overlap, 75-80%. If you're not comfortable spraying like this, you can back up a little bit and slow down, and that will help. But this is just how I do it. When you're spraying, these droplets come out of the gun, and when they first come out, it's going to be atomized really fine. So I like to spray close because that's when you get that fine atomization. When you back up, the droplets start to get bigger, and when they land, then it's going to be a little more peely. But there's nothing wrong with that. We're going to make this look factory, which isn't a mirror finish. We want it to look just like the factory job, so it matches the cab corner and the box side. Otherwise, if you make it too shiny, it's going to stand out that way too, and that's not good. We want it to be factory. All right, so I'm done with the sealer, and right now I am tack ragging it down. I believe I wiped this down with solvent base off camera. But I tack rag between coats every time with this air blower too. A lot of people don't do that, but I love to tack rag between coats. It'll help with dust and the finish. This is water-based PPG that I'm using, EnviroBase, and this is T490, a clear base coat, which we're going to use as our blender, and it gives a uniform finish to the whole panel. I put on one medium wet coat, and then I half trigger it back over it, just quickly, just so I have a good layer on there. T490, and this is mixed up 20% with T494. We want a good base on there, especially for silver. This will help make all of our, okay, here I'm showing you, I'm doing this A-pillar blend. So I'm only going up so far because I only sanded so far, and I'm holding the gun down so the overspray doesn't go up on the top of the door. We want to keep the overspray down on there. So we're just going to finish this, and like I said, this, especially for silvers and golds, you want this on there, because if you don't have a clear blending agent on here, a clear blending base for your blend, then it's going to be harder to blend that silver so it's flawless. This will cover all the scratches that you put in there as long as you didn't go too deep. Like I said, this is 800. And then all these metallics are going to just fall right into place on there because you have a nice substrate for these metallics to land on. If you didn't have that blending agent on there, it would land on the just the base coat that you sanded, and it's going to land on there dry. And if it's dry landing on there, then it's not going to be adhered right. And also, you're going to see a halo or an edge. Right now I have the base coat on here. I'm running it on the jam, and now I turn this down to 18 pounds of pressure for the base coat. Oh no, excuse me, this is 20 pounds of pressure on my first coat of base. My first coat of base I have on here, I mix this up. They recommend 20% of reducer, which is water-based reducer, T494. I do 10% because this first coat, I'm looking for coverage. I don't care about the blend on this first coat. I just want coverage. Because these silvers, a lot of these colors are really hard to cover. And like I said, I just want to get coverage on this first coat. So I under-reduced it, and then we're going to move on from there on the next coats, and I'll tell you. But I like to do this for a lot of colors because get that first coat on there and get everything covered like you want, because you don't want to be putting 5-6 coats on these. We'll just cut through that and put one good coat on. It's probably going to look modelly, but that's okay. We just want to get the color on there. Don't be discouraged if it looks modelly. Like, I know how that is because I've done that many times when I first started. And I'm like, oh my God, this looks terrible. What's going to happen next, you know? But there's a method to it. Always go in this with a plan. Before you paint, even have a plan in your head of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Otherwise, you don't want to go in there and just go through the motions. I'm my own worst critic on my jobs. I mean, I'm never satisfied. And it seems like the older I get, the worse I get that I want things to look better. I mean, they come out really, most people, they think, oh, this is amazing, you know? But I'm never satisfied. And I think that's a good thing in this job. You don't want to be satisfied. You want to always want to be better and to learn. You always have to learn because these paint systems change constantly. All right, I'm going on here, and like I said, I'm going quicker. This is a medium wet coat. It's a pretty decent coat that I'm putting on here. And this is 20 pounds of pressure. Quite a bit of overlap, probably 80%. And I'm in close, kind of moving fast. You kind of go, you let the gun do the work. As you're looking at it, I'm constantly twisting my head, looking, seeing how the base coat looks, how my overlaps are. You always want to be paying attention. This job is made on the details, especially prepping. If you don't prep good, you're not going to have a good job. I'm coming back over this with a half trigger just to get the coverage on here. Little less of overlaps. This is probably 50% overlap, half trigger coming back up. Just want to get this paint on here for coverage. Silvers suck for coverage. Silvers, reds, blue, some blues. I mean, some of them just really suck. I'm going to do the bottom of this door real quick. It went in pretty far, so I just want to make sure that's covered good. After this, we're going to do a little blend on the door and the fender. And all we're doing on here is we're just putting a little bit on here for coverage. We just want coverage because we want it to match this door. If it's not completely covered and it's see-through on that door, then it's not going to match completely. So you have to do exactly what you did to that door to the edges here. And I guarantee you, if you do it this way, you're not going to get a halo or anything like that. You just want to get a little coverage on here. We're not going real far. And we're going to do the same thing we did to the doors. Or to the door. We're just going to come back over. And I'm going a little bit farther out here just with a little wrist flick on the end. And we'll keep that going toward the back so it doesn't get on the top of that door there where we're going to do that clear blend. Same thing here. We're going to just feather some paint up on that A-pillar and then blend this out a little bit. Not blend really, I mean we're getting coverage on there. Coverage is key. When you think of your first coat, think of coverage. Second coat, we're still thinking of coverage, but we're getting some blend out of it. This is amazing now. If you guys don't have a sun gun, you need to get one, because when I first started painting, I went looking at these paint jobs I had and I thought there was model in them. And a lot of times it was just not enough coverage. It looked like model, but you could see the sealer through it. And I took that as model because when you're in there just looking at it without a sun gun, it looks great. You take it outside and you can see right through it. And it's like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? But this sun gun takes that guesswork right out of it. It makes it look like you're out in the sun. I use it to check for coverage. I use it to check for my blends. It's just amazing. Right now, I am tack ragging and air blowing it off. Between every coat I do this. Really good. All right, now we're back to our second coat of base. Now, my first coat of base was mixed 10%. And that was for coverage. So this coat, this is going to be 20%. I added 10% to it. So now we're getting to, it's going to be wetter. And this is like putting slow or extra slow solvent in a solvent base coat. And that's what we want when we're doing silvers or hard to blend colors. We don't want fast. Fast is not good. Slow is key. And it's usually extra slow. But with this base, I have one reducer, which is T494, which is a water base. So how do you get slow reducer? You add more water. And when you add more water, you're going to thin this base coat out, which helps with the blend. Plus, when you're backing up a little bit like I am on this second coat, I'll back up probably 2 inches and I drop this pressure down to 18. When we're flicking this wrist now, then the atomization, these water droplets are wetter than that first coat. So when they land, when they're farther apart, they're going to land wet. And when they land wet, that means that they're going to adhere to that clear base coat that we put in. That's why we did that. We want this to adhere. Because if you're rubbing this down with a tack rag and you're getting a bunch of silver on there, that means that it's not wet enough and it's not adhering. And if it's not adhering and you put base coat or clear coat over that, you could have delamination problems in the future. All right, we'll do that on another video though. But right now, I'm back in there with the sun gun. And right now I'm checking to make sure that the coverage is good. And we're seeing how this blend is looking. We just brought that blend out a little bit more. We extended it out from the first coat and gave it a little flick. And now we're in here again. And we are tack rag. I'm not pushing this really hard. You're just kind of flowing over it and air blowing. And what this does is this actually helps with the static charge on the truck too. It kind of decreases the static electricity. Because when you're in there, there's still going to be dust particles and, I mean, it could be pollen, anything. And that truck is going to absorb it because if it has a lot of static electricity in it, it's going to want to go to it. And when you tack rag, this helps it a little bit, but it also catches the pollen or hair or anything. You're going to feel it catch a little bit when you're doing this, and it'll take it off. All right, third coat of base coat. This is with the Awada LPH 400. The same gun I've used for everything. I dropped this pressure down to 14 pounds now. And instead of 10% on the first coat, 20% on the second coat, I have 30% of reducer in here. 30% of T494, which is the water reducer for EnviroBase. So now we have, it's at like adding extra slow reducer in a solvent base. And I'm backing up. So this is going to control our blend. This is transparent. We're bringing it out and we're backing up 14 pounds of pressure. This is going to give us an orientation coat which sets the metallics down to how the factory has it finished. And it does that by laying into the T490 that you laid on there to begin with. That T490 is key because that is going to let this blend melt right in. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to wipe this down with a new tack rag. And if you do this right, you should have barely any silver showing. There should be, when you're done tack ragging, there should be barely any silver on the rag. See, look at this rag. This is a brand new tack rag. We are going to wipe this down, air blow it off. I air blow and tack rag between every coat because I hate buffing. And if I can make this as clean as possible without buffing, I am going to do that. And this really works for me. A lot of people do not like tack ragging between coats. But I do because I'm very aware of how I painted. And I think I feel comfortable that this is going to make it even cleaner. And it's worked for me. I mean, if it didn't work, I would not be doing it. You wipe it all down. Air blow, so that if there's anything loose coming off with the tack rag, the air blower is going to blow it off. And then as we're doing this, we're constantly looking at the job, seeing if there's any dirt spots, any dust, any imperfections. You always want to look at everything all the time. I'm wiping this off up on top because there's going to be some overspray on there from the base coat. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do after, but we'll tack rag it for now. Now this should be good. We should be good with 3 coats here. I'm going to get that sun gun and it's going to show me how my blend looks. It doesn't show up as good on camera, but it really does work good. See, look at that. There's barely any silver on there, and that's how it should be. If you're getting a lot of silver, that means that it's not adhering well. Okay, look at, I'm writing a 1, a 2, and a blend. Feel free to take a marker in with you to mark where you're going to clear and stuff. Who cares? If it works so you remember, that's great. The 1 is for my first coat of clear. The 2 is for my second coat of clear. You want to stagger it because you don't want it built up. You want to layer it. And then that top part is going to be where I blend with a blending agent. which is totally different from my base coat blender. This is pure solvent, which is going to melt the edge of my clear. And I prep that by taking, you could take 3000 and extend it from where you finished sanding for the clear coat. You could take a white scuff pad with a little cleanser on it or scuffing paste, and you could scuff that out. Or you could even take a sponge or a wet rag with a little bit of scuffing paste on it and just scuff that up. You want something for that blending agent to bite into, because you can buff that after. Give it a quick little buff to get the edge out if it's not perfect. All right, I have my clear mixed up, and I am at 18 pounds of pressure. That's what I clear at with this Iwata. 18 pounds for this job to get the factory orange peel. And this is probably, I'd say probably 75% overlap again. You're just watching. I'm constantly looking at the panel to see how the clear's looking, how the overlaps are. I'm checking for dust. I'm seeing how the base coat is on there, if there's any model, if I'm not happy with it. And then we're going to put a coat of clear. Let's see what we do here. We'll put a coat of clear on this, and we want to push it away from that top edge. Well, I didn't really do a good job there, but we're going to wipe that down. You'll see. And what also, that T490, that blending base that we put on to begin with, that makes this nice for clearing too, because if you don't do that, it's going to be so smooth and slippery out past our blend that it's going to be easy for that clear to hang. You could easily get a run on there. And this, putting that 490 base coat on there, that clear base coat, it just makes it like you base coated the whole thing. So it's a nice uniform base layer for your clear coat to stick to. You don't have to worry about it sticking to the base coat in the front where you have the silver and it laying out different on the back part where you don't have the silver. All right, on here, I know it looks like that blend is bad, which I thought too, looking at this camera, but it's because that door is covering half that light, and you'll see after I move that door how it takes care of that. All right, we're going from the one down here now on that A-pillar, and we're pushing the gun down away from the roof. You don't want the overspray going on the roof for our work, so we can finish our clear blend after. And we're just laying it out. This first coat is a medium wet coat. This is not by any means how you want it to look at the end. You know, our next coat, we're really going to see what this looks like, and we're going to adjust. We can either slow it down or speed it up so we get the orange peel effect. I have, in this base coat, I have a medium reducer in here, and that's what works good for this type of orange peel I want. If I wanted less orange peel, I would probably go with a slow, and I would turn the pressure up a hair, and I would move faster. But this is, you want the desired effect for each vehicle. All right, this is solvent on the wax and grease remover. Solvent on a rag that we are, on a microfiber towel. We're gonna wipe down all that overspray really good up to where our clear ended. Not into the wet clear, but kind of where the clear ended, where it's a little rough. We want that super smooth. We're going to do that again after the second coat of clear. I forgot to put the camera on, so you didn't get to see me put the second coat of clear on the rear door and the new door. Sorry about that. Lucky I caught it for this. But this is the second coat, and we're putting it on a little heavier here. I'm slowing down a little bit because I wanted it to lay out a little bit better than what I had on there. because we just want it to match factory. We want whoever picks this up, we want them to look at it, and we don't want them to think that anything ever happened to it. And I think you'll be happy with the result at the end here. And you guys, you know, if you're learning from this, please like and subscribe. This is my first video, and it's probably going to suck, but I will get better. And I'm going to put a lot of these out there because I feel like I have a lot to offer. And I think I can help a lot of people, because when I did this, I never had YouTube when I was growing up. I would have killed for something like this. I learned by trial and error, and it took a lot, and I made plenty of mistakes, but I learned from them. Here I am with the wax and grease remover on the microfiber towel again, and I'm really rubbing this out because I want that exposed area up on top to be nice and smooth. I don't want any overspray up there. Now I'm going to take my little DV1 minigun with the blending agent for the clear, and I'm just going to dust it on that edge. I know you can't really see right there, but I'm just dusting it on that edge back and forth, checking it out, because this melts that edge. It just dissolves the clear edge so it blends into the factory part, and that's exactly what you want. And when I'm satisfied with it, with how it looks, then I'm just finished there. It doesn't take much. I used to be really worried about clear blends, but once you do them, they're easy. They really are. I try not to do them much, but we didn't want to go into that whole top panel and then do that cab corner too. So I'm just checking it over real quick, making sure I'm happy. I'm always checking things over. Always. Always looking. I just move this so the camera can see it a little bit better. Check it out. Doing that blends this way with the 10% the first time, 20% second time, 30% on the last orientation coat, it just makes this so nice. I mean, you can see here with the sun gun that, I mean, it's flawless. There's no halo. You cannot see the blend one bit. And like I said, I'm my own worst critic, so I make sure that I'm happy with this job, because I'm in a small town and my name is going out there, and I'm very prideful of my work, and if my name's going out there, it better be good. And we always stay busy, so we must be doing a pretty decent job. I'm going to take the camera now and show you guys. Just check it all out. Base coat went on very nice. I think there was one little chunk of dust in this whole job, which is crazy. I mean, this is an old booth, and it just all depends on how you tape things up. I'll do a video on that too, how I tape things up, and tack ragging and air blowing it, and you know, air blowing yourself off too. A lot of dust comes from you sometimes, but I mean, look at that. I mean, you can't see that blend one bit. And this is a hard color to blend. It's almost all large metallic. And there's no base coat on the end. It matches into the factory perfect. The blend came out really nice up there. The clear blend, the base blend there, you can't see. Look at this fender from the angle. If you're going to see it, it's going to be on an angle here. And you don't. And I'm going to do a video on that too, of picking the right variant. Because between face and flop, a lot of people don't know that you can blend the face, but you can't blend the flop. So you want that side tone to match, even if the face is off a little bit. And I'm going to take this outside, and I'll show you this at the end. And that'll be it. Please let me know if there's anything else you guys would like on different videos. And please like and subscribe. And thank you guys very much. It's really appreciated. Thank you.